Osio, Oshikwozu, welcome to the Red Road East. I'm your host, Fierce Truth Seeker. We are in the month of November, which is Native American History Month, and today we're going to talk about the history of Thanksgiving. And when we come back from the break, I have a wonderful guest, very knowledgeable, an elder who is going to give you a whole rundown about so-called Thanksgiving, this so-called holiday. Okay, so I suggest that you stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Osio, Oshikwozu, welcome to the Red Road East. I'm your host, Fierce Truth Seeker. And the month of November is Native American History Month. And today's show, we're joined with Blue Sky. Osio.
Osio.
Okay. And I thank you for joining us today. And you are a wealth of knowledge, and it's a pleasure to have you with us today. I just wanted to say that you have so much knowledge, and there's not too many people that I know of, you know, just really a handful that I know of that have as much information about our history and culture as you do. Okay?
Well, first off, I want to thank Great Spirit, the power of the universe from all the four directions. I pray that through the four directions that this interview will reach those who it is meant to reach. I was born in New York City. I come from a Seminole Cherokee background. When I was a little girl, one day my mother just stated to me that we were Indian Americans. I don't know where that came from. Okay, it just came out of the blue one day. But it was extremely important to her that I identify with being a Native American. It didn't matter what anyone else thought. You know, my grandmother, my mother, we considered ourselves Native American. It has been something that has stayed with me in my entire life. But it did not correspond for me to do anything about it until I had reached my 30s. Then all of a sudden, from every direction, information started being given to me, being involved in different organizations and so forth. In fact, it's been very hard on my life because I refuse to give up that identity of being a Native American person. Unfortunately, so many of us have gone through some of the same things. Either we're attacked by our own families, we're attacked by outsiders, wanting to give us who we say we are and give us a different nationality, a different identity. Of course, this deals with assimilation and so many other undermining ideologies that come from the outside world into our communities.
What are some of your affiliations?
I've been affiliated with, let's see, NINA.
For those who don't know, what does NINA stand for?
The Northeastern Native American Association, something like that.
Yeah.
I have not been involved with that for, I guess, 20 years. The other was the Cherokee Language Circle. I'm involved with the Eastern Cherokees of New York, and I was also involved with the Ohatchee Cherokee organization that was run by Chief Sitting Sun. Everyone was trying with great passion to get things going, but it always seemed that there was something that was holding each organization back. 9 times out of 10 it would be a outside influence that would try to disseminate, totally take apart the organizations. It would be someone to show up, or there would be some kind of strange energy that would show up. Sometimes we would get somebody from who would obviously be from a government organization, and then shortly after, 9 times out of 10 it would fall apart. I also was involved with a group of people calling themselves, I believe, the Ethiopian World Organization.
Ethiopian World Federation?
Federation, exactly. And the young lady that was trying to bring it back to its original roots was trying to pull everybody together into a unified group, but everybody wanted to be separate from what she was trying to bring together. Now, just to give a small history of that, the Ethiopian World Federation was to be located in Harlem of New York. This was the original ideology of Haile Selassie, and that is some of the background that I've been involved in terms of trying my best to get the information and to bring about a different mentality so that the truth could be told to our people here in the Americas.
You also spoke at the UN.
Yes, I did. The last time I spoke at the United Nations was, I believe, in the year 2006. That was the year for the indigenous population to bring about their grievances and so forth and so on. Also that of environmental protection, due to the fact that the last few indigenous peoples of the earth are being threatened by the destruction of their land, and in that time they were dealing with this sort of thing. Henceforth, these people would disappear and, of course, be forced to assimilate into the modern world. All right?
So your speech at the UN was basically talking about the environmental issues
and who we are as a people on the planet. We are the original people of the planet. There are brown races, black races all over the planet that have been there for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Here in America, I spoke of that we are the original Ani, Aninu, Aniyawiya, if you will, as what the Chalagit would call themselves. I may be pronouncing that not exactly correct, but they are Anu people all over this planet. The ancients of Japan, the ancients of the Middle East, the ancients of China, in every part of the planet, there is an Anu people or Ani people. You have Kana Ani, which is Canaan, okay, of the Middle East, which is now being called Israel. You have the Ani also there. That's why the name is influenced or brought in to understanding. You also have a group or a city that's in, I believe, in ancient China that also has that term. All the things that I speak of, you can look up for yourself and find out that ancient name is everywhere. All right.
And how were you received when you brought this information up at the UN?
I think I was very much shocked. The shock was there. I was received very well. In fact, I think many people were shocked that I even brought it up because I stated that we are the original people of this planet, that we follow the ancient Anu, okay, the one creative force of the boundless universe. Okay, that's all I have to say on that subject matter.
walking the red road. Is it difficult at times?
It is extremely difficult because either you have European intrusion or Afrocentric oppression. Many brown natives, especially in the United States, will be attacked by an Afrocentric and said, why don't you accept who you are? I am accepting who I am. Yes, I have African blood. I agree with that 100%. All right? But at the same time, I will not deny the Native American culture that is in my bloodline. It was also black. Some people want to say all of the planet was Africa at one time, if you wish to use that continent. But if we want to use the original black line here of the North and South America, there are ruins here, if you have not even looked at it, that are thousands, if not older than the ruins in Egypt. All right? But how will you know that if you do not do the research? You must research. Yes, the history that you were taught in our ancient land, in our times, it's foolhardy. The history that you're learning is the history of the conqueror. That is what you need to understand. And when the person that conquers you takes over your land and your people, you learn the history of what they tell you. Okay?
Now, Thanksgiving, or so-called Thanksgiving, a lot of people have a misconception about this particular holiday. They think that the Pilgrims came and they sat down and had a wonderful, happy feast with the Indians, and that's how Thanksgiving came about. What is the true history of Thanksgiving?
All right, that is an easy one. My dear people, I know it's a beautiful day for you and families can get together, but again, it used to be a small holiday in New England. And in the beginning, it was called Dead Indian Day. All right? Giving thanks that they had killed off the Native Americans of New England. Then it became a national holiday, and they decided to change that Dead Indian, because it did not sound very well, to a Thanksgiving. And actually, it was Thanksgiving that they were able to conquer the Native American. All right? And give thanks that they had conquered and taken over the land. So that is actually the original reason. Also, there was a Thanksgiving. The Native Americans had invited the Pilgrims to have food and things of that nature. The Pilgrims, being nervous that they would not be able to survive, went back and murdered off the Native Americans in order to get their stash-aways for the winter, so that they felt that they would survive. And that is why they originally called it Dead Indian Day, as a reference to that day. Again, there was a Thanksgiving, but the Pilgrims, so-called Christians, okay, murdered those Native Americans. And that is what you're giving thanks for.
Talk about the difference between we natives on the East Coast and in the Caribbean and those that so many people are familiar with via Hollywood.
Okay, for one thing, first thing I'm going to mention, because it's sort of funny. Many of those cowboy Indian films that you've watched in the past, especially those in the 60s, where it used to be called spaghetti westerns. And the reason why they were called spaghetti westerns, you may think that you were looking at Native Americans. You were not. These were actually Italians that were performing as being Native American people.
That's right.
All right, and in fact, I believe it was a famous commercial dealing with a bear and a Native American with a tear coming down his cheek.
The Crying Indian.
The Crying Indian.
Iron Eyes Cody.
Okay, that was not a Native American either. Okay, it said that he was of a Middle Eastern background.
Yeah, he was supposed to have been Italian.
That's right, exactly. He either came from Sicily or he came from Italy itself. So these are things that you need to learn. You're not even looking at Native Americans when you're watching these old films. All right? So in essence, many times you're looking at that which a person who is more European than they are Native American. All right? 9 times out of 10, that's what you're looking at. The pretty boy flowing the hair to the back. Or the young girl swinging her face and the hair coming this, that, and the other. These people are mixed bloods, okay? And a great many of us are mixed blood. It's obvious. I'm mixed blood. You know, I am triracial, okay? I accept all of that of who I am. Anything else you'd like to know on that subject? Or in terms of people being in the Caribbean, many people do not realize that Native American men from the South were kidnapped by slave traders. I remember the confrontation between the Chalagi, Cherokee, and I believe it was the Choctaw. And many of their men were, when a battle was won, they were sent into the Caribbean as slaves. Okay? So, in essence, you also had, and also another thing I remember, there is a place, I believe, in Puerto Rico where it's a town called Cherokee Town. And this was a place where Cherokees escaped from North America and they went to Puerto Rico. Now, in the South, you have to understand that the Taino, and the southern tribes used to trade between each other.
Yep.
Okay? This is something they don't even teach you in history.
Right.
Okay? From Florida, the Miccosukee, who are actually part of the Seminole, what's the word? I'm trying to, Arawak. The Arawak, they traded amongst. In fact, one group says the Arawak and the Taino are basically the same people.
Exactly.
Okay? So what we're dealing with is separation again. The constant Machiavellianism, and you need to read The Prince in order to understand where I'm coming from with that. Tupac Shakur told you in one of his songs to study Machiavelli. All right? Once you understand the techniques that are being used upon you, all right, and understand the dynamics of mind control that you are under, okay, these kind of things will allow you to know how to deal with the mind control system that you're under, because you are under mind control. And a lot of times, if you go against that, you'll understand strangeness of sickness and things of that nature may come near you, and you'll try to figure out why. Because you're dealing in a system that does not wish for you to succeed or come back to the soul of who you are.
Beautiful. Now, we're going to take a break,
okay,
and we will be back because we have some wonderful, delicious, good-smelling food on the way. Oh my goodness. Woo.
Hallelujah.
Yes. And we're back. And what about eugenics? All the way from Christopher Columbus.
All right. When Christopher Columbus first reached the so-called New World, all right, when he first came, I believe the island was Hispaniola, and he met the individuals that were on that land. He said, and they came with fruits and vegetables and things of that nature to honor these new guests, these strange people who had come to the Americas. He said these people are very docile. They would make perfect slaves. The first thing that came out of Christopher Columbus, excuse me, my speech, expression or speech, is that these people would make good slaves. He was nothing about peace. He was nothing about, helping anyone. All he was a thief, taking from the people, and his whole mentality was to find out if they had gold.
There's been a lot of friction in the past years between darker natives and a lot of the res natives of a lighter hue. How do we begin to unify?
Okay. Unfortunately, since I have suffered dealing with this color issue, we have to understand that our tribes, our nations, have been racially taken over.
Oh, well, yeah. I didn't mean to cut your wisdom, but I think that it would be important for you to mention how Walter Plecker played in that as well, in creating that division.
Well, yes, Pleckard was a complete demon, okay? You cannot get any closer to demonization as Pleckard. Pleckard was a eugenicist. He believed in that philosophy. Eugenics deals with the supremacy of the Caucasian race, okay? And when you deal with that kind of mentality, this man was able to disassemble the races of Virginia, all right? And the eugenic movement also dealt with another person, and I believe her name was Marguerite. I can't remember her last name, but she was the founder of Planned Parenthood. Now, Planned Parenthood was to stop, in the beginning, people of Slavic and Jewish background from having children. And then someone brought it up to bring it into the Negro communities around 1949 or somewhere around that period. And the whole idea was to not just necessarily stop having children, but to sterilize children, to sterilize young women so that they would not be able to give birth to any children whatsoever. And the very first person to be sterilized by this way of thinking was a Native American woman, and you say the tribe for me because I can't. Pamunkey, yes. And that young lady was 16 years old, and she was sterilized, and they were registered as Negro, and they were not allowed to express their tribal connection. So what was going on during that time, that many of our families began to be quiet about their their connection to this land, and they connected themselves as being Negro, or what people would call today African American, because at that time you would have been hunted down and your children would be taken away from you. I know of a person of Canarsie background, okay, and they were oppressed, and the father was not allowed, and that person knows who they are, and I honor you if you see this video, that their father was not allowed to express his Native American heritage here in the United States, and they are dark brown Native Americans. All right.
So you're talking about people that would be classified as African Americans who are Native American.
Exactly today. And he was not allowed to classify himself as such. Okay. So this went on all through the United States. The last woman that was in a missionary school, and they are of the Connecticut group in Foxwood. I met this woman, and she's the last person to be taken from her parents and put into a missionary teaching. And you would look at her as being an African American woman. Yes, we would love to get together, but we are separated by claims that the government is going to give you money. I remember that a great many of us were going to celebrate a powwow at a certain reservation in New York. And at the time, the gentleman decided anybody who did not have a card stating that they were Native American would not be allowed to come to participate in this situation. This has happened all across the United States. But I'm telling you, whatever your grandparents said to you, what your mother said to you, is the truth that comes from that family. And you must accept it as being truth.
Great, beautiful. Unfortunately, we're out of time. And would you be willing to join us again for a part 2?
Most definitely. And I would want to.
Thank you very much. And family in TV land, I hope you enjoyed this wonderful gift that I have brought to you for Native American History Month. And until the next time, Dodada Gaha I.
Donada Gohai.